The county earned that name fairly. Over hundreds of years, its identity. Thomas Jefferson complained about it in a different fashion, though. He thought Warwick County was capable of raising only a small group of militia, which was true. But like over in Loudoun County, they could raise hundreds of fighters, but yet Warwick had the same power behind its vote with its small population. In 1790, the population was 1,690 people in the whole county. Loudoun, the largest, was at least 10 times larger than that. And it was that was Jefferson's idea. He was the first one to say Free State of Warwick, but it was a diminutive thing. It was about that. This free state that I'm talking about was homegrown here, homespun from naturally independent farmers who did not rely on anyone. They didn't rely on the federal or state government for the simple life that they must have been led, a simple life here. There wasn't much need for a lot of government in Warwick County, Virginia. There were court cases. People used or sued each other for this or that. Most of these dust-ups were settled by the community or the individuals with their pride leading the way, usually. They settled their own disputes. In the early days, courts were held in the home of the clerk of the courts or often under a tree. We've seen that on the city seal. Warwick County had to be dragged into building a courthouse at Warwick County. They didn't want one. They finally did, but it fell out of favor being so far from the main road. It ended up with the courthouse right here in Stony Run, where we are today. So anyway, this property here was high ground. It was water accessible. It's not anymore, but it was water accessible before the Newport News Reservoir shut off the water supply and turned this into like Stony Run Creek here. It used to be quite a bit bigger. Anyway, the house across the street, just as the flavor of this, the house across the street, the old tavern that's not there anymore, was the home base for the stagecoach. So this was a natural spot for the courthouse to come to here. When the winds of independence started to blow, Warwick was right there. The spirit of independence was already strong here. And if I can imagine our little courthouse, what were the conversations going on around our little 1810 courthouse of today? Were they talking about nullification and all the early American matters that came up? And what would they think of us now? That's what I'm thinking. Lord help us. We have an excellent presentation shaping up today, and I will get to that just after a couple of things. I wanted to mention to the society, we got a very kind box in the mail, again from Arizona, Mr. Histan, the photo collection that I talk about all the time. I have at least 200 more photos to add to the collection. He keeps going, I guess, to his attic and finding them in Arizona. So, Surprise, Arizona, these boxes came from. But anyway, more Histan pictures. A lot of them are kind of mundane, kind of job site stuff and whatever. There's some real gems, some real nice stuff in there. The newsletter is out. You guys may have seen it. If you need another one, Mary's got it. I want to thank Don Borsham, who I don't see here today, for her excellent article. She did a great job with that, and it was timely and perfect for what we're talking about lately. So I hope you'll enjoy her article there. And then the last item here is your dues are still due, even if you paid them already. I'm just kidding. Your dues are due. If you haven't paid, please see Mary or Sharon. Our membership number is looking pretty good. We're about 62. It does not include the spouses who are free. We have several lifetime members. We have one honorary lifetime member I'm looking at. Many sustaining members. Several of you in this crowd have made very valuable and appreciated donations to us. So we thank you very much. And the entire society thanks you for that. We're in a good financial position. We thank everyone for that. All right, is there any society business from the floor? Anybody have anything you want to say? Come on, not all of them.
Well, let them know about next month's meeting.
Oh, that's right. At the May meeting, we are going to be treated to a lovely barbecue lunch again. That's the price of your membership right there. I don't know where you can go to. Anyway, Patrick and Courtney and Sophia are coming to speak to us, bringing food. I don't know how they can get on our better side, any better than that. So.
Everything from the 17th century to World War II. One of our mottos is, the history didn't stop in Virginia when Cornwallis surrendered at Yorktown. We are in partnership with the Waterman's Museum, the Virginia 250th Commission, and the Yorktown 250th Commission. This is part of the Yorktown 250th Commission. We started in 2022 taking a different article of the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of the Bill of Rights of Virginia. We started off with the Gatsby affair and your right to a trial by jury. Then we went into freedom of religion in 2023 with the great trial in Chesterfield County of a Baptist minister. 1774, we did the non-importation agreements and the disparate associations. Last year, we started off with Patrick Henry's speech and the freedom of speech. And then last fall, we did Dunmore's proclamation and the stealing of the printing press in Norfolk with the freedom of the press. This is now the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Rights of Virginia and the Constitution. This spring, we'll be doing the Declaration of Rights, and this fall, we'll be doing the Virginia Constitution. Virginia felt they did it right all along. That's why they had problems sometimes with the Constitution, is that Virginia found out what your rights are given to you by God first, and then what was the Constitution supposed to protect. They felt that the United States did it wrong by doing the Constitution first and the Bill of Rights second. At least some of the men, like Patrick Henry and George Mason. So now we're going to transport you back to May of 1776, May and June, late May and late June. You are going to be members of the 5th Virginia Convention. You're all going to participate, and I'm sorry, ladies, you're going to be members now. We are going to be members of the 5th Virginia Convention, and some of you graciously were volunteered by this lady over here to speak today. When do you speak? Well, I'm going to be up front here, over here to the side where I'm not in the way of the men, and I'm going to hold up cue cards. When you see your number, that's when you speak. For those that have graciously been volunteered to speak today, we do have a parting gift for you when you go away. You give your sheet of paper to the woman here in red, she will give you your parting gift. A thank you from Shades of Our Past for participating in our program today. But you will be in a few minutes meeting George Mason and Archibald Carey. Archibald Carey is the head of the 5th Virginia Committee to put together the Virginia Declaration of Rights. George Mason, it's Arthur. And some of the things that he's written are things we're going to discuss and argue about today. So gentlemen, ladies, are you ready to start? Yeah. All right. On January 10th of 1776, an anonymously published pamphlet was circulated in Philadelphia. This pamphlet would be known as Common Sense and was found to be written by Thomas Paine. In its opening paragraphs it says, "The cause of America is in great measure the cause of all mankind. Many circumstances have and will arise which are not but local, but universal." He goes on to state his objections to the monarchy and the general state of affairs in the beleaguered colonies. His words, reflection, and this pamphlet started to be passed around to some of the greatest minds in our colony. Taking this word, common sense, and the works of other philosophers, men, and one women, started forming their own works to provide fuel for the revolutionary ideas against the mother country. By May of 1776, it was quite evident. With Lord Dunmore leaving Virginia and the war starting in Massachusetts, the reconciliation with the king was not going to happen. So on May 15th, the men gathered at the 5th Virginia Convention and decided unanimously to declare independence from Great Britain. One representative, former Treasurer Robert Carter Nicholas, was known to say he would rise or fall with his country. The final sentence in the Virginia Resolves for Independence is written, "Resolved unanimously that a committee be appointed to prepare a Declaration of Rights and such a plan of government that will be most likely to maintain peace and order in this colony and secure substantial and equal liberty to the people." You're now part of the committee to put together the Virginia Declaration of Rights. What are those rights given to you by God that your new government is obliged to protect? You've read Common Sense. Has it influenced your ideals at all? George Mason has been working on a draft to frame this Declaration of Rights that you will vote on today. The chairman of the committee, Colonel Archibald Carey. He'll want your votes. But let's hear first from Mr. Mason, who has put it all together.
Good day, gentlemen.
Day.
Glad to see you all here. It's much easier to have a committee meeting when the committee shows up. Maybe that's not true. I just wrote a letter to Richard Henry Lee, who's still in Philadelphia. And I said, now we begin the most difficult task of all, forming a new government. I said, we formed a committee to determine what our rights are. Of course, you know the way our committees are. Mostly a bunch of useless men that are overburdened with their own sense of greatness. I'm not talking about you gentlemen, of course. Nonetheless, I've been sitting thinking about what we are about, how we got to this point. Here we are, early June of '76, back in Williamsburg again, working on this draft. Where did all our problems begin? Really, I think it starts with the French and Indian War. 7-year war called Chile. Why did we fight that war?
Expansion.
Expansion. We just wanted to remain British. Who's claiming North America? Everyone. The French, the Spanish, the Dutch, Portuguese. Pick someone, they're probably here claiming it's theirs. We fight the French and Indian War to keep us British colonies. Do we remain British? I'll give you a hint, it's either yes or no. Yes, we do. We're appreciative of that. We appreciate being British. We have wonderful rights and privileges as British subjects. More rights than any other people of any other country in the world. But we all know, what's the problem with wars?
They're expensive.
They are very, very expensive. So Parliament comes with an idea. Now in Virginia, bear in mind, what did we in the lower house do? We felt it was only appropriate that we in Virginia should pay Virginia's part of the war debt. Do we want to pay everyone's part? No, we just want to pay Virginia's part. So we decided to raise a special tax. It's a one-time tax, it's not to be repeated. We raise a special tax. We actually spread it out over 2 years so it doesn't overburden the population. Because bear in mind, this is over and above your normal tax. We send that money to Parliament to pay for Virginia's part. Parliament says, that's wonderful, that's brilliant. Let's get the colonies to pay more. They start coming up with very creative things. Now remember, did any of you men go fight in the French and Indian War? Remember Governor Dinwiddie, what did he promise you if you would go fight? He promised you land out in the Ohio territory. You want land. What's the first thing that happens? After the Treaty of Paris in 1763, the king draws a line down the Appalachians and says, that's the proclamation line. British subjects cannot go west of that line. Where is Ohio? West of the line. Do you see a problem there? Of course. The governor's offered you free land, and now the king says you can't go possess it. Is that going to make you angry? Of course it is. That's just the beginning. Next comes the Sugar Act of 1764. Now given, it replaces the old Molasses Act of 1733, but it adds new taxes on things like refined sugar, coffee, tea, things like that. Even wine. 1765, a big year, several acts. One is the Quartering Act. Soldiers, British soldiers, can be housed in your house, whether you want it or not. Then the Stamp Act, you remember that one? That's a very specific tax on what? paper, different weights and types of paper. March 1766, the Stamp Act is repealed. It's the shortest lived act in parliamentary history, only lasts about 6 months. They repealed that, but at the same time they replaced it with the Declaratory Act. Now, what's the problem we've had so far with these acts? Ones that charge us extra taxes. The problem is, by the British Constitution, the men that are elected by the people may tax the people. How many men do we elect to Parliament? 0. Therefore, no representation, therefore no taxation. But the Declaratory Act says, we Parliament, who you did not elect, we reserve the right to make laws governing you colonies. That includes taxation. Then, June of 1766, that Sugar Act is repealed, but it's also immediately replaced by the Revenue Act. They love their acts. In March of 1767, that old Quartering Act expires. It wasn't supposed to last forever, it expires. But don't worry, another one's coming soon. Then June of 67 comes the Townshend Act, which is new taxes on, pick something that's probably there. Paint, paper, lead, name it, it's taxed. That's going to lead us to March 5th of 1770, the Boston Massacre. 5 colonists are shot dead by British soldiers. The Townshend Acts are also repealed, except for one. May 10th of 1773, they impose a new tax on tea. That's going to lead us to December 16th of 73, and I would call a bunch of a tea party. We'd given a group of men dressed as Indians, so no one will know who they are. Everybody in Boston knows who they are. It's not. They do it very well. They're polite about it. They'll go on board these different ships. They destroy the tea. Bust the crates open, throw it overboard, fouls the harbor for months, kills fish. Think how that smells. But they did it nicely. They didn't harm anyone. They broke one lock, which they replaced when they left. Even gave them the key. And they cleaned up the decks of the ships before they left. So they did it nicely, at least. But they destroyed private property. What do we think of that here in Virginia? Is everybody here from Massachusetts? We'll talk about it then. You know, those Massachusetts people, they're a bunch of hotheads up there. They jump before they think about it. Now, you destroy that much private property down here in Virginia, what are we going to do? We're going to find out who it was, who did it, arrest them, put them in the public jail until their trial. And because it's such a large amount of money, it's going to end up being a felony crime. They could get the death sentence for that. But that's not what Parliament did. I mean, even though they do know who it was. They didn't go find these men and arrest them. What did Parliament do? Come up with what they call the coercive acts. What do we call them?
Intolerable.
The Intolerable Acts, which includes the Boston Port Act, which closes the Port of Boston, puts a fine on everybody living in Boston. Whether you were involved or not, you get to pay for the destruction of that tea. Is that fair? No. You also come up with the Massachusetts Government Act, the Administration of Justice Act, and a new Quartering Act. I told you there was another one coming. What that all is trying to do is narrow the focus of government and give Great Britain more control over the government in Massachusetts. Somebody's got to control those people up there. On May 24th of 1774, those of you that were in the House of Burgesses on that day, you remember what we did. We decided to declare a day of prayer and fasting in support of those poor, beleaguered folks in Boston. Did we step on some toes? Is anybody going to get upset by praying and fasting? Well, think about it. We're Church of England here. That's our state church. Who is the head of the Church of England? The king. Of course, the king's not here in Virginia, so who's the head of the church in Virginia? Governor, Lord Dunmore. Who declares official days of prayer and fasting? The king or the governor. We overstepped our bounds a little bit, but we're not calling for a colony-wide day of prayer and fasting. It's just for us in the lower house. We're going to make a big show on June 1st when the Boston Port Bill goes into effect. We're going to start at the Capitol, march all the way down to Bruton Parish Church, get on our knees and pray for God's guidance and sufficiency for those people in Boston. Come hear a good sermon, and probably head out to the taverns. We do. It was only for us, it wasn't for everyone, but the governor got upset. And on the 26th, Lord Dunmore calls us to attend him. Of course, there's 126 of us, but we're not allowed to go into the council chambers because we're the lower house. We gather in the hallway outside the governor's office, and he decides to read us all the issues that he has aught with us. The governor can't let the king see Virginians showing support for what's going on in Massachusetts. So the governor finishes off by saying, therefore you are dissolved accordingly. What do you do? What's that mean? You pour water on us and melt us? Basically, you're fired. Get out of my building, go home. Do we go home? No, we stay in Williamsburg. The very next day we met down at the Raleigh Tavern, rented the Apollo room, largest room in town you could rent. We started having meetings. We were going to eventually call them the Virginia Conventions. The first time we meet, we decided we need to have a Congress of men from all the colonies gathered. Put in a call for Congress. We decided we need to start another association. We've done that before. How do we get the Board of Trade over to England to pay attention to us? Hit them in their wallet. We're not going to import anything from Great Britain. We're not going to export our goods to Great Britain. We're not even going to consume British goods. Once they start losing some money, they'll start paying attention to us. By September to October, we're having the first Continental Congress up in Philadelphia. They come up with a list of rights and grievances, what our rights are as British subjects, and our grievances against Parliament, how they are infringing upon our rights. February 75, Mr. Henry gives that big famous speech. You know the one? Give me liberty or give me death at St. John's Church in Richmond.
We just heard it last month.
Did you?
Mr. Henry program last month.
Mr. Henry was here?
Yeah, he was here.
Oh, excellent. He gets around. Of course, he doesn't have to be here to hear it. He could be 2 counties over, you can still hear it. You always hear him before you see him. That's going to lead us to April 19th of 1775. What happens in Massachusetts that day? It's the night after Revere. What happens on April 19th? Oh, we're already here. The regulars are out. The battles of Lexington and Concord. Why were they marching on Lexington? Remember that letter that Lord Norfolk sent out, the circular letter, the November before, was telling the governors of each colony, don't let any more weapons or gunpowder into your colony. So in Massachusetts, the military governor by that time decided, I'm going to take it a step further and actually go seize the gunpowder, control it myself. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't know about what happened in Massachusetts yet, but on April 21st, what happens in Williamsburg? Our gunpowder incident. Lord Dunmore thinks the same thing. I'm going to have some Marines come in off one of the ships at nighttime and take the colony's gunpowder out of the ship. Now there's other gunpowder being stored there. Some merchants have some there. Mr. Carey, Archibald Carey, has something like 2,000 pounds in it. They don't disturb any of that. It's only the powder that belongs to the colony of Virginia. You're going to remove that. Of course, they get found out in the middle of the night. You only get 13 half kegs. It's a very small amount. But the alarm is sounded. The militias are starting to march on Williamsburg. Mr. Henry's already on his way down from Hanover with his militia. Thankfully, Calmer heads the bail. They convince the mob to disperse, go home. We'll go talk to the governor. Of course, Lord Dunmore says, I'm not stealing it. I'm a British governor in a British colony, having British troops come to a British town, to a British magazine, taking British powder to a British ship. What's the problem? He says, I'm concerned about slave insurrections and things like that. What if the slaves get the powder? They'll shoot you up, blow you up, something. He makes excuses. By June 5th of 1775, Lord Dunmore decides that's enough, I'm leaving. He leaves the city of Williamsburg, never comes back. November of 75, Lord Dunmore seizes the printing press and issues his proclamation offering freedom to the enslaved of rebel masters, or if you are an indentured servant or a convict servant of a rebel master, run away, come fight for us, we'll give you freedom. If your master is loyal, stay where you're at. That's going to lead us to December 9th of 1775. What happens at Great Bridge? The Battle of Great Bridge. Bloodshed in Virginia now. January 1st, 1776. Burning of Norfolk. By May 15th, here we are in Williamsburg, declaring our independence. We decide in that set of resolutions for independence, we need to have a Declaration of Rights. Before we determine what the powers of the government are going to be, we need to determine what the rights of the people are. What is the purpose of government?
Serve the people.
Preserve the rights of the people. So before we can determine what rights they're preserving, we've got to figure it out. What are they? We want to have a written Declaration of Rights. Why? We want to have it written out plainly. So no foreign leader can come in here and arbitrarily tell us what they are and are not. We want a plain, written down language everyone can understand. I sit down immediately and decide I'm going to sit down and try to figure out what are the natural rights of man. I rely on many, many documents to do that. I look at, of course, the Magna Carta from 1215. I look at the Petition of Right from 1628 and the English Bill of Rights from 1689. These documents all talk about limiting the power of government and protecting the rights of all subjects, not just some, all of them. I use principles from, well, of course, John Locke. He has a lot of writings. He talks about the natural rights of man. What does it mean, natural rights? I'm not talking about rights given to you by the government. We're talking about rights given to you by who?
God.
God. You had to do one thing to get these rights. What do you have to do? You gotta be born. If you haven't been born, don't get them yet. Look at the Baron de Montesquieu. He has great theories on the separation of powers. Remember when Lord Dunmore was our governor, he serves as the executive, as the governor. He's also the head of the upper house of the legislature. That's legislative. He's also the Chief Justice in the High Court. That's judicial. He serves in all three branches of government at the same time. We need to separate that. Look at Thomas Paine. You all read Common Sense. Very, very passionate arguments for independence there. I even look at Mr. Jefferson's. Here's Common Sense. Here's Mr. Jefferson's views, his summary view of the rights of British America. I even look at that. I take all these different topics, swirl them together. That's what I came up with what I thought were our basic rights. I came up with 18 articles laying out what our rights are. And now we are in committee trying to make a final copy of that, a final version of it that we will present to the body as a whole, the assembly as a whole. That's what we'll vote on. So far my 18 have been whittled down to about 15. We'll see what happens from that point. Does anyone have any suggestions of anything we need to add before Mr. Carey comes back in to put us back in session again?
For this declaration, I propose the following articles to be added to our vote today. That the freedom of the press is one of the great bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained by despotic governments.
I think that's an excellent thought, Mr. Lee. With your permission, sir, when Mr. Carey comes in to get us started in session again, I'll bring that up, that we should see a vote on putting it in. But remember, we've got to get through the preamble and all first. Got to get through that first article first. I'll bring it up if you don't mind. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Come sit. Sit. I know your foot is troubling here.
The gout.
I trust everyone's had a good dinner.
Indeed.
Well, let us pray we get this business done before the heat of the day gets more than we can bear. Yes? I would like to have this business of our Declaration of Rights completed by tomorrow morning, that I can provide it to the Committee of the Whole and put it behind us. We all know that the rest of the continent were waiting on us to propose independence to the Congress. We have done so, and now, though they may not admit it, they are waiting for us as well in the formation of our new government. We must keep in mind the responsibility we owe to not just other Virginians, but Americans as a whole. Now, America has ever counted on us to lead them. Where we go, they follow. Again, they may not admit it, but they surely do. So, with any luck, we will avoid some of the bumpier conversation we had yesterday, shall we say? Keep in mind, gentlemen, that as we do this, one thing we agreed on yesterday when we finally set towards our second, when we get our second article in our declaration, that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people, and that magistrates are their trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them. We are those servants. We are not the government. Once we've established our government, we shall not be part of that government. We are simply the representatives of those who vote for us. We do their will. They are not here to do our will, which is why we are working so steadfastly on creating a Declaration of Rights. I know we have said it over and over, and by heaven, I will say it one more time. We defend the rights of the people themselves are defended. We are not here to defend them, their bodies, their persons. We're here to defend their rights, which encompasses them in all ways. Man, woman, boy, girl, free Negro, makes no difference. We are there to protect their rights. Please, in the name of all that is holy, let us get the rights settled with as little trouble as possible. Now, before we adjourn for dinner, there was some talk of another article that we should put forward. I was assured it would be very simple.
Did you want to go through Article 1 first, sir?
We certainly could.
Let's not go from yesterday, Article 1. The first and the last articles haven't been done, but I think Mr. Lee did make a suggestion. I think we should do Article 1 first.
Very well. We have a motion to do Article 1 first. Is that seconded by anyone? Is there? All right. So let's carry on then. If you would, since you wrote the thing, go ahead and put it before us. In its original form, please.
Of course. It's perfected form. Article 1, that all men are born equally free and independent, and have certain inherent natural rights of which they cannot by any compact deprive or divest their posterity, among which are the enjoyment of life and liberty, with the means of acquiring and possessing property, and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. Sir.
Very well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Mr. Nicholas.
Colonel Mason, is our first action as a new government to seize our neighbor's property and to indebt our new nation? There's not enough money.
Own family, perpetual preference to all others forever. That speaks to the king, not our circumstances here. Mr. Treasurer is correct. I, as many of you, abhor the notion of slavery. But regardless of our philosophical opinions, slaves are at this moment private property. Shall our new government's first act be to violate that right? Is that no different than the king seizing houses and goods from the people of Boston?
Colonel Carey, I'm at a loss.
Colonel Mason?
Mr. Nicholas, I understand your thoughts and your meanings. You've all heard me say many, many, many times that if you are a slave owner, you were born a petty tyrant. I include myself in that. I owned over 100 slaves myself. We did not start slavery, nor did our fathers or even our grandfathers. We were just born into it. We're trying the best we can to determine how we can end it. But we don't know how to do that yet without ruining our economy. Maybe the best thing to do is just do it, get it done, bite the bullet.
I am not one to put my opinions forward very often when I'm sitting in the chair of the committee. However, I believe we at least ought to consider, Colonel Mason, the fact that slavery itself is not continuing as it has in the past. How many of you gentlemen right here in this committee now, how many of you are converting over your crops to get away from those that require a great deal of labor you can't afford without Negroes? The simple fact of it is this: slavery is a fruit what dies on the vine. General Washington himself, oh, how easy it is to call him General Washington. I'm so pleased with that. If anyone deserves it, it's him. General Washington himself, I've spoken to him on numerous occasions. He's gotten entirely away from tobacco because of the dependence on Negroes. I am doing the same thing. I'm going towards production of hemp. I'm sorry, I'm not going to put an ad out in the newspaper for this. But the point being, within 25 or 30 years, simply because we've observed it, we can tell the future from this, slavery will no longer exist. So, do we wish to take all the time and risk of calling Negroes free? Never mind the fact that no one's prepared them to be free people. They would immediately turn to crime or starve, to be quite honest about it. Or do we just continue on with what we're doing here and settle this later when we have a government that can address it? Again, I'm not saying that is precisely what the committee ought to do. Whatever you vote, I shall abide by. But let us keep that in consideration.
Colonel Carey, if I may,
Yep, please, Mr. Pendleton.
I suggest we head following into the draft. All men are by nature equally free and independent. When they enter into a state of society, thus clearly stating the fact without violating the right of our property. When the day comes that slavery ends, Negroes will naturally enter into society, thereby being enjoying the same rights. Would this suffice?
Colonel Mason, you're jumping out of your chair in spite of your gouty foot.
So what you're saying is we should not worry about the slaves. Get the new government first, worry about that later.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Pendleton has given a good compromise to the matter now. There's nothing we can do about it now. If we do not establish a government in Virginia and prosecute the war successfully, it won't be our decision to make because we will all be dancing a head jig. We have a motion by Mr. Pendleton on the floor. Does anyone second it? Will we vote to add edit Mr. Mason's original first article? Shall we amend it to say when the Negroes enter in, and when anyone enters into a state of society? Do we have a second? I can't second it. I'm the chair. Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. How do you all find? Will we amend it to include Mr. Pendleton's small edit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have carried and it is successful. We'll have the clerk make a small amendment to your article.
Another one.
Now, what else have we?
Oh, there was, Mr. Lee had the suggestion for an addition.
Oh, really?
That the freedom of the press is one of the bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained by despotic governments.
A freedom of press. That's what I was thinking of when we first started, before we had to go into the first article. That's rather straightforward. Is there anyone that would argue the point so succinctly put? Thank you kindly. Is there any argument to adding that amendment on freedom of press? Is there any call to amend it further? Very well. We have a motion that we add that into our Declaration of Rights. Anyone have a motion to add it?
I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to add an article on the freedom of press. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Praise heaven, we got one done in less than 2 hours. Excellent. Now, what is next on our agenda?
I think it's their last article.
Oh, on religion?
Yes.
Let me see. Ms. Colonel Mason, would you like to read that one as well?
This is
Since it's
Article 18.
I believe it's 16. Remember, we have condensed several into one.
When I wrote it, it was 18.
Well, it's not anymore. It's the 16th.
Nonetheless, that religion or the duty which we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence, and therefore that all men should enjoy the fullest toleration in the exercise of religion according to the dictates of conscience, unpunished and unrestrained by the magistrate, unless under color of religion any man disturb the peace, the happiness, or safety of society, and that it is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity towards each other.
Good. Very well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, Mr. Madison.
toleration, Mr. Mason, implies that religious exercise is a mere privilege that can be granted or revoked at the pleasure of the state. I have letters, as do many others, who state toleration has not worked, especially when it comes to the dissenters.
Colonel Mason.
Mr. Madison, I know you're a very young man and very new to government, but toleration has always been the watchword in Virginia. I mean, we have our established state church. We're Church of England here, good Anglicans. We have, Church of Scotland, the Presbyterians are here. We've got some Lutherans out to the west. We've got Baptists of every sort. We even have Quakers since the 1730s. I mean, we don't talk about them very much, but there are the Brents up in Fredericksburg, the Catholics. If it's not toleration, sir, what is it that you're suggesting?
Sir, that religion or duty that we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it being under the direction of reason and conviction only, not the violence or the compulsion, all men are equally entitled to the full and free exercise of it according to the dictates of conscience, and therefore that no man or class of men ought, on account of religion, to be invested with particular emoluments or privileges, nor subjected to any penalties or disabilities under it, etc.
This sounds like
You wish to disestablish the Anglican Church?
Perhaps we should. Dissenters have always been held down by the established church. Isn't that right, Colonel Carey? Have you not tried some Baptists in your time?
Now you see here, perhaps if you were a bit more experienced in the legislature, or a little bit more than an unlicked cub in experience, you would understand that people do not have the right to break a law merely because they disagree with it. They have the right to petition that the law be changed. And had you been a more effective legislator, my young friend, perhaps you would have changed the law you're so obviously looking to help others violate. The simple, oh, and I will not be called a bigot in this particular committee. If the Baptists want to go to, they want to do anything they like, they're free to do so, so long as they don't violate the law in my county, as you would find out if you had more experience. Now,
Chair.
yes, what? I'm sorry, please, excuse me, Mr. President. Yes, please.
I move that we table this discussion. I'd be pleased to work with Mr. Madison on the compromise on his proposal, but we shall agree that we move toward freedom, not toleration.
What about me? I wrote the thing.
Colonel Mason, see here. I can forgive it when a young gentleman's experience is not comparable with his ability. You, however, sir, have no excuse. This must continue. But I am going overboard on this, and quite frankly, I can see some of you are as well. Perhaps I'd hope to have this settled by tomorrow if we might put it before the committee of the whole, but it's not going to happen that way. Let us adjourn for the rest of the afternoon. The day is growing quite warm, and so is our temper. We shall come back here first thing in the morning, say at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And we will continue, and with any luck, by the end of day, we can have it given over by the end of the week. So, with that in mind, as the chairman, it is my authority to adjourn this committee. It is so adjourned. God save Virginia, God save the Congress, and God help me. Mr. Pendleton, if you're rather, Colonel Mason, if you would please join me, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the younger members of this body.
Thomas Paine's common sense sparked the thoughts of the nation. What are the rights of free men? You voted on Virginia's today, though Article 16 was rewritten, and the final compromise was that religion, or the duty which we owe to our Creator, and the manner of discharging it, can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. And therefore all men are equally entitled to the free exercise of religion, according to the dictates of their conscience, and that it is a mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. However, the freedom of religion was still argued until 1786, when the Statute of Religious Freedom was written by Thomas Jefferson and was passed, and it's still heavily debated today. Virginia was the first to write a Declaration of Rights as the foundation of the Constitution and a form of government. Though some rights have been acknowledged by other governments, this was a bold first step in limiting government and one day restoring peace in order to Virginia. When you voted today, what rights do you feel you most need to protect? I'm going to bring back now Michael Piper as George Mason. And Bill Rose as Archibald Carey. Now the program goes away from our focus to your focus. The program now is yours. Ask any questions that you have of these two historians about the Bill of Rights or the men that they portray. So now it's no longer our program, but it's yours. So don't be shy, be bold, and ask questions.
How much backroom work was done at the taverns to work these issues out?
Oh, I imagine gentleman asked how much work was done in the back room of taverns as opposed to in committee. I'd say Washington has some pretty successful bars and restaurants these days, doesn't it? I would also think that it was probably pretty lucrative being in a tavern business here in Philadelphia and every other town. So they're definitely discussing these things. I mean, do you know any particulars?
I don't specific.
Not specific, but they're always meeting and going back, and it's human nature.
These men are probably not going into the King's Arms or Globes or wherever and sitting in the public dining room eating. They're probably renting a private room in the back to eat a good meal and talk amongst themselves. So I'm sure they're working a lot out of session too.
Yeah, just the rapidity of how they do this. If you look at, we were just talking about this the other day. The timeline, May 15th is when the 5th Virginia Convention votes to propose independence to Congress. And part of those resolves that day was to form a committee to create a Declaration of Rights upon which they would build the Constitution of Virginia. They did this in what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Now, how many men were on the committee? 130, what? 112? Oh, I can't remember the number on the committee. I'm blanking out. It was more than 100 men in the convention. In the convention, it was 36 people in the committee. So if you've got a committee with 3 different focuses, and they're all working under the gun because they feel, I believe correctly, that they are expected to lead the rest of America. All you got to do is look at our founding documents and compare them to our national founding documents. You can see we were definitely the template. That they were able to agree in so short a time. I think they'd have to be working together in the off hours just to get stuff hammered out so they can propose it, keep rolling. Again, that's assumption because I can't think of any specific detail that I have read may have.
Well, we know Pendleton worked with Madison on his resolve. So
Yep.
it didn't sound, so they had to work somewhere.
Did they canvass their constituents very much, or is it all from their own integrity?
I'd say a little from column A and a little from column B. How much did they go to the people to find out what they wanted to do? One of the things that I say when I'm in character as Carrie, when I'm in more of a conversational program, is that Archie Carey, he was in the legislature for 20 years prior to this. He's one of the old guard. So when he was first elected, if you can imagine, he's the son of one of the big guys in Virginia politics. Young Colonel Carey, we've elected you to the House of Burgesses. We know you'll do well. Have a nice day. See you when you get out. So he goes to the House of Burgesses. He sits, he learns, and as he gets better, they go, "Hey, did you get everything accomplished that you were looking to do?" "Why, yes, I did. Thank you for asking." But as we get closer and closer towards independence, people are becoming more dissatisfied with British abridgment of American rights. You start seeing the tone of the people change. It's not so much, "We trust you, let us know when you get back, and we'll buy you a drink before the election." It's more, and this is what we see coming with the county resolves. "We've written these up for you. We're going to sit down and talk about it with you. We expect you to get this done when you go to Williamsburg." Then when you get back, "Welcome back. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you made it back. Hope everything was uneventful. What were you able to accomplish for us?" So there's a lot more interaction with the public by virtue of the fact that they're getting more and more annoyed, which is why we talk about the second article, which says we are the servants of the people. We are not here to rule them. They are here to direct us so that they can rule themselves. So it is getting more and more involved. They are warning us at every step. If the people are not involved, the people will become ruled. So it's on everybody's mind at the moment. And as we progress, historically, you can see the people start ceding more power to the government because they just can't be bothered.
It's a big change in the mindset of the people.
It is.
Both the people that are elected men to go to the legislature and the men that are elected. It's a change in all their mindsets. Robert Carter Nicholas is a really great example when they're debating independence. He said, I don't think we're ready. This is just Virginia. We're not talking all the counties, just talking Virginia. He says, how are we going to stand against the most powerful army and navy on the planet? We got some militia. We do have a navy in Virginia. We have 3 ships. That's it. Revenue comes. How are we going to stand against the British? He says, I don't think we're ready. But the people that have elected me to be here have told me to vote for independence. So I will. Now stand or fall when my new country comes to be. So it's not what I think anymore, it's what they're telling me. It's not doing what's best for the people anymore, it's doing the will of the people. That's a big change.
And once they do establish the Constitution, it will be written in the Constitution that elections for members of the Assembly will happen once a year. So you've got to be constantly proving you're doing something good for the community. Otherwise, they're just going to put up somebody else and send them instead. So yearly changes. Prior to that, it was whenever the governor called for an election. New governor arrives, the House is dissolved, we have an election. The governor gets bored, wants to see an election, let's have an election. I mean, that's a silly example to make the point, but still, you get the idea. So it's regulated, it's cooked into the formula that we will have regular, frequent elections all the time.
That's pretty important.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
First Charter of Virginia said that everyone was to have the same, whether you were born in Britain or you are living in Britain, you would have all the same rights and privileges as any other Englishman.
Yes.
This is the first charter of Virginia. Well, in Britain, they've been dealing with the English Bill of Rights since 1689. So people here obviously feel that they are entitled to the same thing that's in the, don't you think they based a lot of this on the English Bill of Rights?
Absolutely, without doubt. Good. Yeah, Ms. Rich mentions that the British assume they have rights, and we Virginians, we follow that. We absolutely do. You remember Virginia, I tell this story all the time too, when Cromwell deposed Charles I and his son Charles II went into exile. Charles I threatened Virginia. Cromwell threatened Virginia and said, we'll burn Jamestown to the ground and we'll just ruin the place unless you throw in behind me, Cromwell, the guy that just overthrew the government. Virginians probably didn't like Charles I better than a lot of people did because he was kind of a crummy king. But he was the legal king and the Virginians didn't want to support a usurper. So they kind of finagled and in political language said, okay, we're not going to get in your way. You do what you need to do. You won't hear a peep out of us. But they never swore loyalty to him. So when Charles II comes out of his exile, thank you, exactly. Comes out of his exile, of course he's going to find out who mom and dad supporters were. So they come across this letter where he's threatening the House of Burgesses, Cromwell is, and then the House of Burgesses responds without swearing loyalty to the usurper. And at that point, Edmund Jennings, who was acting governor, the members of the council, the members of the House of Burgesses, the larger plantation owners, they are gifted with large tracts of land as reward for their loyalty, and he proclaims that Virginia will forever be his old dominion. So there you go. Virginians are hemming and hawing. In some cases, like Mr. Nicholas, who's afraid we're just not ready for it. And in other cases, what are we throwing away? Shouldn't we at least keep trying to stay British? Because everything Britain has, we have because we're better British than they are. That's Virginia. That's Virginia. We love being British. Virginia and Dr. Quinto. Virginia makes 1/5 of what? The empire. We're the brightest jewel in the king's crown. Yeah, we love being British. And Virginians are, it breaks a lot of hearts when we vote for independence. Right? Imagine loving your parents, but they're abusive or neglecting, and you decide you've got to get away just to live. That breaks a lot of hearts. So go nation, so go people. That was poetic. I can't write that down. I shouldn't be in history, I should be in like literature.
Other questions, friends?
Well, friends, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you. questions you'd like to ask us individually, we're very glad to help. We do have some nice brochures, some pamphlets, not brochures, heaven's sakes. We have some nice pamphlets about this program and previous. Actually, we do. But this is a program, previous programs we've done, just little information packets that have been prepared for you. Those are available for sale. Also, if you would like to check out other programs that we, the company, Shades of Our Past put together, we have some of our brochures there for that. It tells you a little bit about who and what we do, our tours that we do in Williamsburg. Or chit-chat. You want to ask us any questions? You want to voice an opinion about something? And we're glad to have it. Absolutely glad to have it. And I don't know, are you running them out of here anytime soon? No. There you go. The day is yours. Thank you, friends, so much for having us.
You know, you'll come back and visit the board county on Sunday. Very much enjoyed your program.